Hi everyone, welcome to the Council of Graduate Schools webinar, The Benefits of a Community Approach to Graduate Admissions, sponsored by Liaison. So our plan for today is we're going to have a couple of brief presentations, followed by a question and answer session. Like all CGS webinars, the webinar recording and slides will be emailed to registrants as well as posted on the CGS website, usually within about a week of the live webinar happening. You can submit questions at any time during the webinar through the GoToWebinar control panel on the right-hand side of your screen. But do remember that those questions will only be answered during the designated question and answer session. If you're having any sorts of technical issues or problems, troubleshooting help is available through the URL below. The most common technical issue that we have with our webinars is people having difficulty hearing us or trouble with the audio. So if you're having trouble hearing us, you can try switching to a different audio connection. You can change from telephone to mic and speakers or vice versa without leaving the session. If you're already on a telephone connection, but you're still having trouble, you can click problem dialing in for an alternate phone number to dial. And so with that, I'd like to hand the presentation over to the President of the Council of Graduate Schools, Suzanne Ortega.
Thank you, Matt. And good afternoon. I guess technically it would be good morning to our members on the West Coast. Well, welcome everyone. We've had so much interest in this webinar, and I think that speaks to the importance of graduate admissions to CGS's members. In a recent member survey, 84% of our deans indicated that it is likely or very likely that they will devote a significant portion of their time over the coming year providing leadership in graduate enrollment management, including admissions and recruitment. In this light, I'd really like to share with you that CGS recently collaborated with NAGAP, the Association for Graduate Enrollment Management, to survey graduate enrollment management professionals at U.S. and Canadian universities. The details of the results are available online in a CGS research brief, and I'd encourage you to check it out. But of particular note is the fact that of those who responded, 47% of these enrollment management professionals reported that their institution or a particular program for which they were responsible had robust enrollment growth targets of 10% or more. Another key takeaway is that those surveys who responded with a robust enrollment growth target cited increased resources, including the implementation of new technologies and optimizing existing ones, is absolutely critical to their ability to actually meet those aggressive goals. So we're really excited to focus on admissions here today and are really thankful to Liaison International for their programmatic and financial support, not just for today's webinar, but also for their participation in the CGS Sustaining Membership Network, which allows companies to demonstrate their commitment to advancing the goals of improving access to and success in graduate education. At this time, I'd like to introduce Judy Chapelier, who is the Director of Association Partnerships for Liaison, and who will serve as today's webinar moderator. Judy joined Liaison over 3 years ago and is the business manager for GradCast, Unicast, and BiomedCast. She also has worked with the Common Application on the Common App for Transfers initiative. Judy has more than 20 years of experience developing educational partnerships, including experience with student information systems, college access, career planning, and enrollment management. She is a graduate of the University of Akron, where she also did her MBA work. So thanks to Liaison, and without further ado, I'll turn it to you, Judy.
Thank you, Suzanne. I'm very excited about hosting this important webinar today. And as Suzanne said, it's very timely in coordination with the report that they just released in partnership with NAGAP. So without further ado, we'll get into the benefits of a community approach to graduate admissions. And I want to introduce and my privilege, I'm very privileged to be partnered with these two deans at institutions. So Matt, if you could There we go. Thank you. So I want to introduce Robbie Melton, who is the Dean of the Graduate School at Tennessee State University, and Julie Masterson, who is the Assistant Provost and Dean of the Graduate School at Missouri State University. And in a few minutes, you're going to hear directly from Julie and Robbie about their institutions and about their approach to recruitment and admissions on their at their institutions. But since we kicked off with a survey, we thought we'd have a little fun today with a couple of polls. Matt, if you could launch the first poll for us. Thank you. So just a quick poll here. Are you looking for ways to expand your applicant pool? And as Suzanne said, over 47% of those that were surveyed in their report have enrollment growth of 10% or more, and need to expand the applicant pool. And lots of different ways that we see customers doing that by offering programs at different times, full-time and part-time, and even launching new programs, sometimes totally new programs or the same program in a different way. So thank you. So sharing that 95% of you, wow, are looking ways to expand that pool. So the other thing I was interested in before we got started today, and Matt, if you can launch the second poll, was how you view your graduate admissions today. Are you decentralized, centralized, or do you have a blended approach to your college admissions? And while you're doing that, I just wanted to describe what we're talking about when we talk about a community approach, or at Liaison, we call it a centralized application services. And we offer it in several different models. Probably what we're most known for are those discipline-specific models like OT-CAS, PT-CAS, and excuse me, or nursing CAS, engineering CAS, business CAS. We also launched about 2 years ago something called Grad CAS, which is really multiple discipline. Our customers approached us about we're using multiple CASs on campus, sometimes as many as 11, 13, or 14, and wanted to have an application service that was similar in nature for other programs to use. So that was launched. We also have an institutional or community CAS that's used at institutions like Boston University or the University of Southern California, where they're very decentralized in the way that they manage their applications, but wanted to have a centralized view of those. And then the last model that we have is a system-wide, and some examples of that are the Indiana University system for all of their grad schools on a single platform, or the Cal State University system where they have all of their undergrad and graduate schools on the same platform. Now, all of these models also can work together. So just because you choose an institutional model doesn't mean you can't also participate in the discipline-specific CASs. So we have many hybrid models of that as well. So the CAS model or the community-based model can work in a decentralized or a centralized or even a blended model. And so thank you for your responses to that. It was a little bit of fun while I was talking. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Julie Masterson to introduce herself and to introduce Missouri State University to you. Julie?
Good afternoon, everyone. I hope you can hear me. The slide shows you a little bit about my institution. We're a public university in Springfield, Missouri. Our graduate enrollment is just under 4,000 right now. We have 5 doctoral programs, 3 specialists, several masters, and several graduate certificates. I have been involved with CAS systems for more than 10 years. I served as president of the Council of Academic Programs in Communication Sciences and Disorders and signed the contract with Liaison for CIDCAS, the Central App Service for Speech Pathology and Audiology, about, 12 years or so ago, and I served on that advisory committee for years. So when I became Dean of the Graduate School here at MSU, I was very spoiled because I was used to having an application that was tailorable, configurable, to both represent common needs across, in our case, a discipline, but also the individual needs of each program. It's not very surprising to find out that what the MBA is using and what they need to make their admission decisions is quite different from music, which is quite different from experimental psychology. So I wanted something that had all the benefits that I was used to And GradCast did present that solution for us. We are now in the midst of our second year of GradCast, and year one really just focused on getting it configured. And the way that we did it, we had over 250 designations. So they were individually configured. And let me explain what I mean by designation. So our Masters of Music, that's one designation. But another designation needs to be the accelerated path into a particular degree. So we don't have necessarily over 250 different degree or certificate programs, but the way we ended up configuring resulted in this many individual applications, if you will, in our system. And this year, we've really been able to start focusing on best practice and refinement of a lot of the lessons that we learned last year as we launched into using this new tool.
Thanks, Julie. And now we'll hear from Robbie. And Robbie, can you introduce us to Tennessee State University, please?
Good morning, everyone. I'm on the West Coast. This is Robbie Melton coming to you on behalf of Tennessee State University. And again, I'm a newbie also in terms of using the system for the last 3 years. However, I have data, lessons learned, and best practices to share with you on behalf of an urban, historically Black college and university, where we were able to track enrollment trends. And when I say life is good, life is good. I will share with you all how we started, the statement of our problems with an S, and how I am a happy camper at this point. Please know that what I share is unsolicited. I am here on behalf of those of you out there looking to expand your graduate pool to make your processes almost seamless. We still have some challenges, but to let you know, would I try this again? The answer would be yes. So with that, you will have many questions of both of us in terms of starting out, in terms of time and effort, and also bringing on what we call the entire university. Within, in our case, we only had 6 weeks. So I wouldn't advise 6 weeks, but I would say to you, strategically, if we had to do it again, everyone, dealing with the challenges that we were facing with over 1,600 unprocessed applications, manually scanning, copying application, and handling various documents, transcripts, test scores, and moving into the GradCasts. By the way, I do have 8 of them. I am still here to share with you that at this point in time, we only have 2 unprocessed applications, and that's because it's Thursday. So again, life is good. So I will turn it back over to the moderator.
Thanks, Robbie. Appreciate it. But appreciation to both of you and Julie for getting us started. So I think we'll launch into to the discussion. And I have some questions for Julie and Robbie to get the discussion started. But we are going to open up the questions to the audience. So if you have questions, if you'll key them into the question block on the right-hand side of your screen, I very much appreciate that. So because we talked about the fact that many are facing those enrollment growth of 10% or more, and it might be different at your institution, I thought we'd have Robbie and Julie answer the question about how they've expanded their applicant pool with their online graduate application. So Robbie, why don't we just continue with you on this one first and get us started a little bit.
Thank you so much, everyone. So to address how we were able to expand our applicant pool, We also went out with a strategic plan, of course, but we also looked at the EMP. That's the other side of liaison in terms of marketing and recruiting. Please know, everyone, we thought we could do it all. We thought we had all of the answers. We thought we knew how to market, and we didn't. When we were able to put the two together, the EMP, strategic marketing, with the liaison online application system, when I say within 4 weeks, we were able to see increases. I'm sure you're saying, give me the numbers, Robbie, give me the numbers. I'm here to share with you of this fall, we have documented an increase from 2 years ago with what I call a solid 7.5% in what we call real full-time enrollments. This year, we had a special project in which our enrollment did go up, but for numbers' sake, to help you all out, 2 years ago, we were under 1,000 graduate students, and I'm talking about a university in an urban setting. I'm here to share with you, as of this fall, we are over 2,000. So just within that time, you all should be saying, so what are the variables? What did you all do? To expand that applicant pool, we were able to have dedicated strategic marketing to our populations. Not only that, we expanded our online offering and our online marketing and recruiting, as well as having a system, an online application system, where all stakeholders would be able to track, monitor, see what we could see at all times, so there's no questions about where am I in the process, as well as having all those documents and credentials into one safe, verified place where everyone could go to GradCast and say, where are X documents, and we all can do it at the same time. I cannot emphasize that as much as I want to scream it out, because that cut down and reduced loss of documents. Everyone knew where everyone basically proceeding, as well as collaboration. So I'll stop right there on behalf of Tennessee State University.
Great. So Julie, the same question to you, please.
I think those are really impressive numbers, Robbie. I wish that I could tell everybody I had those numbers. We don't yet, because we're still in the midst of really trying to identify what this tool is allowing us to shed light on. One example of that is in implementing this tool, because we can monitor where each applicant is in the cycle in a very straightforward manner. Robbie said the applicant can do that as well. What we began to discover is that a lot of programs had admission criteria that they weren't really even using anymore. So maybe 3 letters of recommendation, and when in fact they really just wanted to make decisions on the basis of 1 letter. Maybe they were requiring a standardized test score on paper, but when it came to actually making decisions, they were waiving that requirement quite often. So what we've been able to do is really systematically go through, identify these potential non-productive application pieces, have conversations with the faculty now so that they've really streamlined a lot of the factors that they're considering. So that makes it much better for the students. They are being asked, or potential students, they're being asked to provide information that is definitely going to be used in the process. They're not asked to provide information that's not going to be used. And I think our turnaround time for application processing on the part of the program is really getting better too, because people understand how to use the system a little bit more. They're streamlining what they're looking at. They're only asking for things that are critical to their program, and that frees a lot of their resources to do the things that they really need to be doing, like reaching out to students and encouraging them, answering questions that may not be apparent to them. Hopefully our staff also in our admissions office can do the kinds of things that only humans can do as some of these other burdens are lifted. We're not quite there as much as we want to be yet, but I think the straightforward, transparent way that we're able to look at the components of each application, I think that's really helping us in terms of reaching out to additional applicants. If I look at my numbers, we've set a new graduate enrollment record pretty much every semester for about the past 3 years. Our yield is about the same. We certainly have more applicants in the first year that we did GradCast than we did in the years before, but we had been increasing. It's really apparent to me now, because it's so straightforward and easy to calculate yield, that the answer to my goal for increasing enrollment is to really increase the number of applications I get. I think our yield might go up a little bit more, but it seems to us, based on the data we're seeing so far, is our best chance for enrollment growth is to increase those number of applications. Back to you, Judy.
I was just going to ask for a little clarification, Julie, just because you have a lot of experience with the CAS, both in discipline specific and now with GradCast. Do you feel like your graduate programs have more visibility, perhaps to applicants that you wouldn't normally see?
That is definitely the case for the central app services that are discipline specific. So our nursing program and social work program recently joined their professional CASs. They were not members of those CASs for a while, and so their applicant pool is increasing. The other nice thing about that is, and I know many of the listeners will smile at this, is sometimes you can work with your faculty to talk about that maybe their requirements seem to be a little, excessive or a little bit more burdensome than they need to be. And then when you become part of a centralized CAS, they can look around and see what all their other colleagues in the same profession are asking. And that's a more powerful message than what I'm able to share. So almost all of not everybody on my campus, but almost all of the programs that can participate in a professional CAS do so. It definitely casts a wider net for them, increases the visibility of their program, not to mention that it provides very, very critical comparative information. So if I need to look at what the demographics of our applicant pool look like to PT or OT, we can compare it to 5 selected programs in our region or the entire professions, the ones that are in the CAS. So there are a lot of benefits to those professional CASs that are not just about increasing the applicant pool, but increasing their reach, being able to extend diversity, being able to extend geographic diversity, et cetera, in their populations.
Thanks, Julie. And Robbie, do you have any final comments on this question before we move on?
Yes, I do. Let me share one of the concerns we had at the beginning. We are on a server with other universities, and right away we felt we would lose students because students, even our own students, would see a list of other universities. And yes, we were a little nervous saying, well, maybe they might select another school or whatever. Well, it worked to our advantage. Students that we had not tapped in on, students who logged in and saw Tennessee State University and the programs that we were offering, clicked on us just to kind of shop around. And even in that shopping around, we picked up new students. So if anyone out there is kind of concerned, oh, I will be part of a list of university, please know as of this date, it has helped us in terms of expanding our applicant pool versus decreasing or losing students.
And if I may just jump in here, I think there's one thing, people may not know this if you don't know about the system. The traffic rules in GradCast actually allow you to see students, as Robbie just said, who are window shopping, if you will, because you get to see every student that's in progress. That means they've clicked one of your programs as a potential area of interest. So we have a whole communication campaign set up now that we can reach out to those and begin to nurture them to turn them into actual applicants. In our old system, all I knew is how many applicants we had each year. I don't know what happened between the time that somebody might have been interested in us and whether they actually came to fruition. Well, you know, we always track applications, admits, and matriculants. Well, now I can track prospects as defined by somebody who clicked on one of my programs as an area of interest, and I can document what we did to nurture that person.
Thank you, Julie. I do want to just clarify that you can't see your students who have clicked on other institutions, but if they've added one of your programs, then you have total access to those applicants, and I think it really is an important part of that community process. Excuse me. So moving on a little bit. So our next question was, how does the CAS, or the community-based application, facilitate cross-institution collaboration? And Julie, I'm going to come back to you this time, because I know that you've done a lot of work at Missouri State in regards to that. So,
well, again, the tool allows us to feasibly facilitate cross-program collaboration. So here's an example. We have an interdisciplinary degree called Master's of Professional Studies. You do a business leadership core, and then you choose a concentration area. And so we have, for each concentration area, those are, the requirements for those also lead to a graduate certificate. And the programs obviously have a vested interest in the students being admitted and completing their graduate certificate, because it's that particular department's credential, whereas the degree is housed in the graduate college. So this seems so simple. We would just have a student who took that and maybe did sport management, and the director begged the students to enroll in the certificate. The director would offer extra credit on an exam, all kinds of strategies to incentivize them, but the students just wouldn't, they didn't do it. Then I would get phone calls after they left. Why didn't I get my graduate certificate? Because I did study sport management. And honestly, it was kind of embarrassing to have to say, well, you never clicked the button to actually apply, because that's what our system required. With GradCast, what we can do now is we've worked it out so that an application to the Master's of Professional Studies with an emphasis in sport management also results in an application, if you will, to that certificate. So with one application, the student gets to be considered for admission to both. The director of the degree is in constant correspondence with the director of the certificate. They've worked it out so that they're comfortable with the director of the degree offering admission because of the way there's comparability in the requirements. So this is a really nice way that we have eliminated a barrier for students to have to, why should I have to go through this whole process again when I really am going to be doing the work anyway? So the tool allowed us to do that. Another great example is because we're really familiar with the way the application worked. We had a student who applied for one of our degrees, didn't meet the minimum GPA, didn't actually meet the minimum grad college GPA, but had a wealth of incredible experience, valuable experience. Well, the program was very reticent to recommend an exception for reasons that they considered to be important to them. And so we had a graduate certificate in a related area that did not have such a rigid GPA requirement, who said, I can definitely take a chance on this student. There's overlap between the coursework that will lead to the certificate and the degree. Let's give the student a chance. Let him be credential seeking, which has financial aid ramifications, and also just goodwill ramifications. Let him be considered, you're one of ours, you're a true graduate student. Let him try, let's give him a chance. And the other program was thrilled to death. The other program's working with the certificate to make sure that the courses chosen do indeed lead to the degree. So those are two just easy examples of ways that we've eliminated barriers for students and got some of our faculty talking who otherwise might not have had the chance to visit. Robbie?
Hello again, everyone. In terms of collaboration, cross disciplines, remember, with graduate programs, you will have graduate theses, dissertations, committee members, and with this system, Regardless if you are on ground or online, you're able to collaborate with your colleagues where they can all go into GradCast, meet as a committee. GradCast is also designed where you can rank candidates. You can even have some of your community stakeholders if you are looking at education graduate programs or psychology where you have to have school personnel to be part of that decision making. Therefore, within the system, you have various levels that you are able to customize the setup so that people who have to sit down in terms of committees are able to go into GradCast, look at the documents that you determine that that committee should review, and have all of that information loaded and stored right there so that as you escalate up in terms of your decision making, you can see where your committees have met, have ranked, have noted comments for your graduate admission. Julie?
And Robbie, have you received some feedback from your students, your applicants too, about the system?
Yes. In terms of student feedback, in which again we have data as well as actual testimonials and feedback, I'm going to give you the 3 top statements. 1, I'm able to see where I am in the process of graduate admission. 2, how about knowing where your documents are? Did you receive my transcripts? What about my test scores? With GradCast, students are able to go and say, oh, I see that X university did not submit my transcript. Now I can call that university versus waiting and calling. So, AKA, we have reduced the loss of documents somewhere like 50%, where we always know and can track. Number 3, the ease of use. We had a system before that required 2 applications, 2 fee structures, as well as 2 decisions. Now we were able to condense all of that into one. Therefore, and here we go with data again, the average time prior to the use of the CASs to process a graduate application, are you all ready? We're talking about over 6 to 8 weeks. And that's if we had all of the documents, pulling all of the files together, and we were manually handling all that paperwork. We went from an average of now 8 weeks. And by the way, you're talking 2 months, and graduate students do not have time nor the energy to wait 2 months to get into a program, to now our average time in terms of collecting, processing, we're down, if all things line up, to where we're able to make a decision within 3 to 4 weeks. So in other words, we have cut our time down. And when we talk about lessons learned, I am able to streamline that timeline even in what I call lesser time, because we now know our pitfalls in terms of delays. So again, ladies and gentlemen, you're talking about cutting our processing time in half. Julie?
Thanks, Robbie. I appreciate it. And before I start on our last prepared question, if you will, that why don't you go back to the report that CGS just published in conjunction with NAGAP, and the fact that your colleagues in the industry indicated that there was a direct connection between your enrollment goals and infrastructure and that you definitely needed an alignment between those goals and the resources. So when you think about the CAS on your campus and integrating that with your enrollment marketing and enrollment with your integration with your student information system or CRM if you're using it, do you think that the addition of CAS helped you in your alignment of goals and resources? And Julie, I'll come back to you first.
I was just listening to Robbie's description of what it used to be like when you had paper all across campus and God only knows where it is. Now, because everything's right in front of you, it's so much easier to track. This year, we have the courage and the means for it to be feasible to set time to decision goals for every program. So, you know, many of my programs really are, it's a binary decision in several of them because they have capacity. So if you meet the criteria, then we can recommend you ultimately and we can admit you. So I have many of our programs processing applications 2-3 times a week. So the time to decision is 48 hours. And then we turn around in 24 hours because of our integration. So that's pretty straightforward. Other programs that collect all of their applications at one time and then make decisions, the nice thing about this, as Robbie was saying, is we can immediately respond to a submitted application and say, thank you so very much for submitting this. You can expect to hear from us by X because we will collect all the information and it'll take about 3 weeks to make the decisions. But the students aren't just left hanging out feeling insecure with a lot of anxiety because they don't know what to expect. Time to decision is critical for every graduate student. It's particularly critical for international graduate students because so many things have to happen on the other end. So we have worked diligently to decrease that time to decisions because, again, it's all in one place. And I can monitor if there is a hiccup in the system. I can identify it very quickly and reach out and get something done about it. What I want to talk about is the integration of, in our case, GradCast with our student information system, which is Banner. And I've said this a lot to my colleagues at Liaison. They're very sympathetic to me. My vision for what GradCast was going to look like and be like for students and for faculty evaluation teams, it was so much better than I had ever hoped. I knew it was going to be good, but it was even better than I had hoped. The integration side with Banner was worse than my most vivid nightmare. It was incredibly challenging. And we learned a lot last year, and it's allowed us to get better. My advice would be, if you are considering this or any other software package, have your computer services folks work with you very closely. Mine did, but we really just didn't understand the ramifications of some of the decisions that we made during configuration until we were halfway, or a quarter way into the cycle. So I want to put this on like a needle point or some sort of portrait in my office. One thing for us, the way that our SIS works, is every degree or every certificate has a Banner code that's associated with that particular credential. I now have a designation in GradCast for every Banner code. And that's such a small thing, but it has made tremendous difference in the degree to which the system, the output from GradCast is able to be integrated into Banner. We do a lot of things, do a lot of tracking without really necessarily needing things to be in Banner. But once you start, if you've admitted a student and you're trying to track if they've matriculated, then there must be back and forth, obviously, between whether a student's registered, that's going to be in Banner, and what you're seeing in GradCast. So this integration is to get information out of the application system into your student information system is so important. And as much as you can, have conversations with your computer staff so you know what their crosswalk, what their push procedures, what their export procedures are going to be like. Skip Logic is a great and wonderful thing, and we thought it was so cool that we could do a lot of that in our application last year. It was terrible on the other side. Skip logic did not, it prevented a nice smooth export because of the way the export was set up. So we did not choose skip logic this year in configuring. And it's still fine. It's all fine. It's still straightforward for the students. And on the back end, our integration is so much smoother. So my advice here would be to talk, you can talk with Robbie, you can talk with me, so that we can give you answer some specific questions. The liaison folks are great about this too, but you know, they work with so many universities that have so many different systems, they can't possibly have an answer that's individualized for everybody. But I think if you talk to them and you talk to us, you'll get a feel for the kinds of questions and considerations that you're probably going to want to make on the front end, so that the integration later is smoother. Judy, that good enough?
That was great. So Robbie, can I pose the same question to you? Can you?
Oh,
go ahead, Robbie.
Yes. Okay. First of all, Julie, thank you. And audience, you should appreciate the honesty of liaison and asking us to come and share our experiences. Like Judy, we also did not strategically plan and collaborate with our IT student services banner team. With that, we also encountered many challenges, some that we are still working on now, in terms of getting data in, getting data out, as well as the integration, a seamless integration. So we had to adapt Axion, another what we call our crosswalk. And as Julie indicated, you need to make sure that everyone's at the table and they understand their role and responsibilities, because you must use that data in terms of moving students' credentials. So with that, and that's why Julie and I are saying lessons learned, but the good news, everyone, you're learning from our lessons. And even with those challenges, would I do it again? The answer is yes. So with that, there should be a follow-up webinar on just tracking Julie and I in terms of how we were able to work out the integration piece, or what we call the crossword piece, to make everyone happy. Julie?
Thanks, Robbie, and maybe that would make a good case study as we move forward with both Missouri State and Tennessee State. So I appreciate that. So now we've moved to the open question and answer part of our webinar today, and we've had a large number of questions come in. So we will try to get to as many of them as possible, and if we don't get to them in our last 15 minutes here, we will contact you directly and answer your questions through CGS. So one of the first questions I had, and because I think that both Julie and Robbie, you talked about digital marketing and direct marketing to your applicants and the process and beyond. So the question is, are you both using the marketing aspects of Liaison, which is our enrollment marketing platform, EMP, in addition to the communication plans via an institutional CRM? Julie, you want to answer that first?
Yes, we're using Liaison EMP. We have a subscription for the graduate college. We also have a subscription for the undergraduate. Our undergraduate admission system is Unicast, when Judy was talking about how BU and Cal State systems use that. And so what we're doing is, so we're integrating, we can tell if a student who has used our request for information, which goes into the EMP, we can track to see if that student has become even a window shopper in GradCast. We can track, also we have a campaign that when those window shoppers are in progress folks in GradCast, we want to do a campaign with them. So we are exporting those data into our EMP, starting a campaign, and we're able to track to see the effectiveness of that. Those are different messaging tools, different message content. The nice thing about EMP too is you can do a lot just in GradCast and the web admit with email templates, but with the CRM, we can send different kinds of messages. So in addition to email, we can use text, we can use voicemail calls. I'm going to try to talk my president into, having a little come to Missouri State University, we're a family kind of talk to. So you can do some really creative things using the EMP, as well as track the outcomes or the benefits, the effectiveness of those different kinds of campaigns. Judy?
Thank you very much. And Robbie, at Tennessee State, are you using just EMP, or are you also using a CRM? So.
Yes, we're using EMP, and let me just share with you all what I call the best example. If you would just go to our website in terms of www.go, like Go, .tenstate, that's TNSTATE.edu. If you click on that, it will speak for itself. You will see the clean design. You will see how we're able to start out tracking our student, and within 4 seconds of hitting that submit button, you will receive a custom personalized web page for each of your students to say, "Welcome, Robbie." I say that to you all because it has the look and the feel of what we call our now social media graduate student. It gives them a personalized page. You are able to put your information on that, and I'm here to share with you that is our #1 compliment from all of our graduate stakeholders. So again, I'm not here to market our programs, but if you actually want to see what it looks like and feel, go ahead and complete it, and you will see that if you complete that www.go.tenstate.edu, after you select a program, if you don't hear anything within 5 days, EMP will send you a beautiful email. If you don't respond back to us in those 5 days, you will receive a very nice postcard up to date. You will go Tennessee State. And if we don't hear from you again in 10 days, we're going to just track and monitor you until you say life is good. I say that, everyone, because we weren't able to do that before. We thought we had the media. We thought we had our thumb on what students would basically address, and we did not. So again, I share that with you, and I want to share very quickly, we are not using Unicast. We're using all of the other classes, GradCast, and we didn't have any money. For all of you out there wondering, how much will this cost? Where do I begin? We were able to take our application fee, and at that point, it was like $40, and go into GradCast, where they would take care of all of the things that we pointed out to you, and split our application fee, where GradCast would then handle that, and we still had some revenue left. But I'm here to share with you, and I hope our business people are not online, for the happiness that I have received in serving in this position for 2 years. I give them all the money, all the application fees. It made that much of a difference. And in terms of staffing, we didn't have to increase staff. I hope my staff isn't online listening, because once we get that crosswalk going, I'm here to share with you, we're going to retool them, and we now have time for them to do the things that grad schools should do: research, trends analysis, new programs, whatever. In other words, I don't want to say this, but I'm going to say it for you all. You will be able to look at your staff differently in terms of effort and processes. In other words, you will be able to reduce your staff in terms of those manual processes that they are sitting there doing now that can be automated, tracked, monitored, and all of your transparency. And one more time, we don't have any money. And we were able to use the current system, looking at our application fee that we normally charge students, and take that same fee and split it with Liaison, where the students didn't know there was any increases, but boy, is my life happier.
Thanks, Robbie. I think you answered the question about EMP as well as costs and even reducing your FTE. So I'm sure our audience is very appreciative of that. I just want to say that for those of you who are interested in more information about CAS or Enrollment Marketing Platform, we will have contact information within the PowerPoint that you received. As well as we're going to refer you to a Liaison site where you can get additional information. But Julie, I just wanted to go back to you for a second. That has your pre-CAS versus post-CAS staffing changed or in any way? And sometimes we know it's not just a reduction of staff, but being able to redirect staff too. But Julie, could you speak to that for a minute as well?
Yes, it has not changed because we are still challenged with optimal integration with our SIS. So I will say that it shifted somewhat. We used to have a coordinator of admissions and an admissions processor, 2 FTEs, and both of them devoted most of their time to the actual details, nitty-gritty of doing the application processing. I now have a director of grad enrollment management, and her position is much more strategic and high level. So in that sense, I don't have a full FTE that's being devoted to the actual manual processing of applications like we used to. So it has decreased. We've supplemented that with part-time. I hope that I get a chance to have this conversation next year, because I really am optimistic as I get smarter and we learn more about optimal integration with the system, and my computer services folks continue to work with us and they get smarter about changing some of their procedures and ways they do things to optimally integrate. I really do think that it's absolutely feasible and not overly optimistic to believe that we will be able to shift staff and redirect their time to doing things again that only people can do, reaching out and comforting applicants and supporting them and encouraging them to get their information in, having these really sophisticated communication campaigns to nurture the students through the enrollment application funnel.
Thanks, Julie. And we are almost out of time, but I just want Julie and Robbie to summarize, and I found a question I think that will help us do that. And again, if you give CGS permission, we will answer any of your questions directly that we didn't get to on the call today. But I have one question that says that our university recently began using nursing CAS. What would be the top 3 reasons that I could present to our administration for adding the use of grad CAS as well? So Julie, your mic was open. Can you give us just your top 3 briefly?
The top 3 reasons is the interface. So your nursing folks are going to get very spoiled quickly about how they can tailor their application to take advantage of what the discipline of nursing says is common across, but they can have their unique branding. And so why shouldn't my Master's of Music and my Master's of Global Studies, why shouldn't they also have availability of that tailoring? Then the common platform on the back end, WebAdmit, really does make it so much easier to manage everything. I couldn't get my computer staff to do any direct integration with my, excuse me, SIS with my professional CASs until we got GradCAS. And then they had to talk to me because all of our applications are coming in through that way. So those would be my top 2, the tailorability and the fact that now everybody's going to be all hands on deck about how to optimally get this integrated with your other campus software systems.
Thanks, Julie. And Robbie, back to you, your top three?
How about collaboration? Remember, with the nursing program, they have to collaborate with the clinical staff, the hospital staff, and of course, the university. Communication, whereby all are able to look at the student at the same time, same place, wherever they are, as well as what we call the transparency. They know in the process where, as well as the tracking and monitoring. And again, in terms of making a decision in a timely manner, life is good.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Robbie and Julie, for sharing your insights today and all your valuable information. And I do think a case study with the two of you would be very interesting. So I just want to thank the audience today too. A lot of good information. I hope that that you are able to share with others on your campuses. Gradcast.org will get you to Liaison and more information about a cast. There were, again, lots of questions. With your permission to, CGS will answer those questions for you. And last slide, Matt, I just want to let you know that we will be at the CGS conference in December. Make sure that you visit us at our booth, but we also have a presentation there on how two institutions evaluated, implemented, and launched a CAS. Those are Indiana University System and the University of Rhode Island. So we'll be highlighting others, but those will be our two presenters at the conference in December, and I hope to see you there. Thank you again for your time today. Matt, thank you.
Well, thank you so much to Judy as well as Julie and Robbie for their excellent presentations, as well as thank you to the audience for your great questions and participation. If we weren't able to get to your questions, we'll try to link you up with the appropriate presenter after the presentation. And just a reminder that we will be sending you the recording as well as the presentation slides within the next week. We just want to alert you to one upcoming webinar. So tomorrow from 2 to 3 p.m., we're going to have a webinar on preparing future faculty to assess student learning. We hope you can join us. And as always, you can find more information on upcoming webinars as well as recordings of past webinars at cgsnet.org/cgs-webinars. Thank you so much and have a great day.